What is up, my fragrance people? Today I have 10 Middle Eastern clones that are pretty good quality of Parfums de Marly fragrances. I love the fragrance profiles that Parfums de Marly has created, and I've got here, I think, some great alternatives at great prices that you're probably going to like. But before we get going, I want to ask you to consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't done that yet. Also, give the video a like and let me know down in the comments what is your favorite clone of a PDM fragrance. As we get going, I will tell you, I think what I'm going to do is kind of go in order of my least favorite to my favorite. That doesn't mean that they're not good clones. It just means that the actual original PDM I'm not a huge fan of, I'm less of a fan of. And then as we go up in the list, we'll get to some of my favorite fragrances on the planet. I love the DNAs that Parfums de Marly has created, a lot of them. There's a few I'm not a huge fan of, like you won't see a clone of Percival in here. I've tried a lot of variations of that kind of DNA, and I'm just not a big fan. But the ones that you see here, I at least considered I want to pick something up that smells like it. Okay, I hope you're ready, because we are going to begin. The first one, this is a clone of Kalan. A very, to me, strange fragrance profile. I wanted to get a clone because it was inexpensive, but even the original, I just think it's a weird smell, but something that I thought, I want to wear this a few times, experiment with it a little bit. And so the one that I have here is Maison Alhambra's clone called Carlisle. And this one has been compared to BR540 as in the original. It has a saffron note that is very much like BR540, but the fragrance as a whole has some other things going on. There is definitely a strength of a floral vibe that sets it apart from BR540. There's a little bit of pepper. A lot of people describe it as some sort of a pepper bomb. I don't get that even from the original, but there is a little bit of pepper going on, and then it moves into saffron and florals. There's also a little bit of citrus in the opening. It's sort of in this weird spot between there's a little bit of sweetness, but not a whole lot. There's a floral vibe that mixes with some other things, but it's not incredibly floral. It's just kind of strange. I think I'll probably wear it a few times a year, and that's about all I'll get out of it. But this is Carlisle, and it is pretty close to the original, but I don't have the original to do side by side. But you know, I'm familiar enough to say, you know, it's pretty close. The next one, this is a clone of Godolphin, which is a type of fragrance I'm very familiar with. Godolphin is an authentic leather smelling fragrance. It's going to be something in the realm of like Tuscan leather or ombre leather, kind of somewhere in between those. And it is a fragrance profile that I like, but I have a lot of things that smell like that. I got on a leather kick a couple years ago and bought up like 20 leather fragrances. And so, you know, this one I got at a good price, so I added it to the collection, but it's not going to get a ton of wear because I have so many other things that smell like it. This is Galatia. And basically Godolphin and Galatia, which does smell pretty close to the original, is basically a pure leather fragrance. But there is a little bit of sweetness. There's a little bit of aromatics. There's something that will remind you a lot of Tuscan leather, but it's smoother. It's not quite as abrasive as Tuscan leather. And so I kind of feel like it's right in between Tuscan leather and ombre leather. And for my money, for this, I think $22 or something I spent on it, Galatia is a good clone of Godolphin. And this one got a lot of attention when it came out. People doing side by side saying, yeah, this is a really good clone. And I will tell you on the last two, performance that I've found is okay. I've only had these two for a couple weeks. And, you know, they're like 7-hour fragrances. They're not beast, but they're okay. All right, this next one. Now we're getting into some that I like more and more. And again, some of these fragrance profiles are some of my favorite smells on the planet. This one is a really great fragrance profile, and it's got a lot of similarities to Parfums de Marly Sedley. It is a clone of Sedley, but it's more like a twist because there are also some differences. This is Lattafa's Mahir Legacy. And this one gives you beautiful, juicy citrus and mint in the opening, which is immediately going to remind you of Sedley. It's a sweet, juicy citrus, but that mint is also discernible. But then once you start to go down into the dry down, you're going to get a warm, spicy vibe. You've got fresh spicy going on from mint, and I think there's some other aromatics. But this one I would even say goes more into warm spicy, more so than Sedley. And so the second half or even the last 2/3 of this fragrance gives you a little more warmth than Sedley does, although Sedley does have some of that. But this one is set apart a little more, and I think it's even more versatile. You can wear this in the cold weather as well as in the warm. This is a fantastic fragrance from Lattafa, Mahir Legacy. And this is also about a 7-hour fragrance. All right, this next one. Now we're getting into some really good stuff. This is a gorgeous tobacco vanilla fragrance with some spice. It is rich. It's gorgeous. This is a clone of Parfums de Marly Herod. This is, again, another Maison Alhambra because these are so cheap, and what you get for your money, to me, is kind of mind-blowing. This is Parfums de Marly Hercules. And I will tell you, I've got a lot of fragrances in this video that are not from this Maison Alhambra line. We're just hitting a few of those back to back right now. But this one's going to give you a rich tobacco. It's going to give you a rich vanilla, something like you would get in Tom Ford Tobacco Vanille. There are some similarities between this fragrance and that one, although Tobacco Vanille is way more spicy, way more intense in that regard. This one's a lot smoother. So you get that beautiful tobacco, you get that beautiful vanilla, and then you get a good dose of spiciness as well. If you like pipe tobacco fragrances, this is Parfums de Marly take on that DNA, and I think it's gorgeous, and I think Maison Alhambra has done a pretty good job of cloning it right here. And this one, again, is about, a 7-hour fragrance. Okay, next, this one, we're getting into some serious performance. This one on me is more probably like a 10-hour fragrance. This is a clone of a fragrance that's not for everybody, kind of like Kalos or Kalan. Some people really don't like this fragrance. I love it, and a lot of people absolutely love it. It's unique, it's gorgeous. This is a clone of Parfums de Marly Pegasus, and this is our Moth Craze. This stuff is good stuff. I have another clone of Pegasus that I thought about putting in here, but I ended up not putting it in. But I'll tell you that this is a very accurate clone of Pegasus. It is a metallic almond with some kind of bright vanilla and some significant powderiness. It's this interesting mix of metallic. You definitely get, the metallic silvery bottle that you see on Pegasus. That is emblematic of the way that it smells. It's metallic. It's powdery. It's got vanilla. To some people, this is like overload of sweetness. To me, it's just moderate sweetness. But almond, metallic, vanilla, powder. To me, this fragrance smells like a beautiful snowy day. This is my go-to snow fragrance. I love it. I've even worn it in the summer. Our Moth Craze. Really good stuff right there. All right, this next one. This is a clone of a fragrance that I've only worn once, that I smelled out in a store, and I sprayed some on my skin, and I thought, wow, this is a gorgeous twist on one of my favorite fragrances of all time. This is a clone of Layton Exclusif. And so with Exclusif, they added in some oud. They added in some animalic notes, I think with castoreum. They put in a good dose of like a pine kind of vibe, almost like a Christmas tree pine kind of vibe. This is Anak, and it's a clone, again, of Layton Exclusif. And they did a really good job of capturing that oudy, and I don't even know if I said oud, but it's got oud, a good dose of oud. But it's a oudy, piney, slightly animalic, like 50% of the fragrance becomes those dark, rich, dark notes. Now this one, I will tell you, whenever the one time that I wore Layton Exclusif, I remembered the oudiness being really intense in the beginning and then fading out, and then you got a lot more Layton. This one, I find the oudy, animalic, piney qualities stay on at about level with that Layton DNA. So if you like that dark oudiness, this one's going to give it to you, and they did a great job. It doesn't smell cheap. It doesn't smell off. It just smells gorgeous. If you like that kind of oud, pine, animalic, there's even some coffee in here. It's gorgeous, but it's probably not for everybody. Anak by Fragrance World. It is a great fragrance. Okay, this next one, the next couple have been recent obsessions. This one is a dark, earthy, patchouli, vanilla fragrance. It is absolutely gorgeous. It's mysterious. It's dark. This one is a clone, you probably already guessed, of Carlisle. I've even been looking at some other clones of Carlisle because I love this scent profile so much. This is Maison Alhambra Cassius, and they capture that earthy, spicy patchouli with beautiful, sweet vanilla. This one maybe isn't for everybody, but I will tell you that even though earthy patchouli might sound kind of, it might turn some people off, think chocolatey patchouli with earthy nuances, because that's really what it is. And then with a good dose of vanilla, a good dose of sweetness, this could be like a winter signature scent for me. It's not off-putting, but it's just strange enough that it is alluring, and it's mysterious, and it's gorgeous. There's nothing about this fragrance that, other than that initial kind of earthiness in the opening blast, there's nothing in this fragrance that I would think like, I don't know if I could wear this on a regular basis. I could definitely wear this one, Cassius, and it is a cheap clone of Carlisle. Okay, this next one, this is another new pickup. I've just had it for about, a week and a half, 2 weeks now. This one is a cinnamon grenade exploding in your face. Cinnamon apple pie with other sweet notes. It's absolutely gorgeous. This one is a clone of Oajan by Parfums de Marly. This is Fragrance World Legion. And this one is basically that apple cinnamon pie kind of vibe, but there's a little less apple in this one as compared to Oajan. To me, the sweet, spicy cinnamon is right at the forefront, but it is cinnamon and honey, and you do get that cinnamon honey vibe. It is so good. I've been wearing this one and Cassius. I have worn or sprayed them every day since I got them. That's very unusual for me, but I just keep going back. I love cinnamon, and currently this is my most cinnamon-forward fragrance, and they did it right. Spicy, vibrant cinnamon with a good dose of sweetness, that honey, a touch of that apple as well. It's gorgeous. All right, so that has been 8, and now we're getting into 2 different clones of my favorite Parfums de Marly fragrance, which is Layton. No surprise there. A lot of people love Layton. I do too. I'm just being real with you. I'm not going to try to make my, tastes seem more exotic than they are. I love that gorgeous fragrance profile, everything about it. There are more clones than the 2 that I will mention, but these are both really good for one reason, and I'll tell you what it is. The first one is an expensive clone. It's by Alexandria Fragrances. And Alexandria Fragrances, especially their niche clones, I think are too expensive. But in the early days, whenever I first started getting into clones heavily a few years back, I bought a bunch of their fragrances, and they just do a great job. This is super, super close to Layton. The quality, the intensity, the high notes of the different fragrance notes that are in Layton, they do a fantastic job of it. I just have a little 10 mil right here. This is Alexandria Fragrances. What's it actually called? Royal Equestrian. That's their Layton clone. I've barely got anything left in this little, 10 mil travel spray here. But it is just so good, and it's really close to Layton. And I do recommend it, although I haven't tried Amber Oud Exclusif Blue, and I have heard some people say that that one is even better than this one. It's also expensive though. It's usually $50 to $60. It's cheaper than this one per mil, but if you want the highest quality, most accurate Layton clones, I would say probably go with Amber Oud Exclusif Blue or go with Alexandria's Royal Equestrian. This next one, this is, to me, the best value Layton clone you can get. It's very, very accurate to the fragrance profile, but the quality is not as high as Alexandria or, from what I've heard, Amber Oud Exclusif Blue. But if you want something that smells like Layton, that lasts forever, this is a 12-hour fragrance on me, and I've heard a lot of people talk, the same kind of longevity. It's got good projection, it's powerful, it's potent, and it's super cheap. I've seen it often for $25 or less lately. Of course, I'm talking about Al Haramain Detour Noir. And it is gorgeous. It captures that apple, vanilla, cinnamon, that gorgeous opening. It's got a touch of that menthol vibe as well. It's also got some of that darkness as it starts to dry down. There's a little bit of dark that creeps up from the bottom. This has all of it. It just doesn't have the quality of the peaks of some of the, I don't know how to say, a lot of the time with a niche fragrance is super high quality. There is such a texture that you feel like you could run your hand over the texture of the fragrance. This has got a little of that, but not as much as the original or even as much as Alexandria, but it's still absolutely insane value for $25. Anybody who likes Layton would be happy with this. Detour Noir, one of the ugliest bottles I own. What were they thinking? The paint's coming off the front. It is what it is, but it smells amazing. So that has been 10 clones of Parfums de Marly fragrances. I have a couple others that I could have included in here, but I think this is pretty good representation of the ones that I'm interested in. I have not tried Hobdon yet. I want to try the original. I saw that supposedly Fragrance World's supposed to be coming out with a clone of that soon. I look forward to that. I'll have to try the original in store soon. Thank you so much for watching. I'd love to hear about your favorite Parfums de Marly clones down in the comments. Remember to sub to the channel and give the video a like. I'm Justin. This is Sillage Scents.